Irish squad for the Six Nations 2024, folks, has been announced. First impressions are pretty steady as she goes. This is not like the All Blacks, who've lost half of their experienced guys abroad after the World Cup. Barring Jonathan Sexton and a few injuries, most of you guys are available. Expectations will be pretty high. We'll go through the squad, some of the ins and outs, the injuries, the fixtures, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Now, happily, for some of these Six Nations previews, been able to have a chat with a few players. If you missed it, chatted earlier with former Welsh and British and Irish Lions legend prop Adam Jones, up there, down there, literally spoke to the big man for about 10 minutes about the Welsh squad, and also spoke to Bernard Jackman, a former Irish international too. So let's hear what Bernard has to say about the Irish squad. I should say this episode is brought to you by eToro. They are very kindly sponsoring this episode. Cheers to eToro. They are the official investing and trading partner of Premiership Rugby. Tackle investing the smart way and join millions of UK investors on eToro today. The friendly platform for serious investors. eToro is a multi-asset investment platform. The value of your investments may go up or down. Your capital is at risk. But yeah, let's hear from Bernard and then I'll come back. Right, good morning, folks. Bernard Jackman, mate, joining us here on the show. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, good, thanks. The Irish squad announced this afternoon. I think we're the last squad to be named. And yeah, a lot of talk about potential captains leading into the announcement. But actually, ironically, the person most suitable was probably the person least talked about. And he's the guy who's got it, Peter O'Mahony. Been an outstanding leader, over 100 caps for Ireland, captain Munster for 8 or 9 years. I think he's captained Ireland 10 times. But yet he was the forgotten man to a certain extent, mainly because he's been injured for Munster. Just came back last week and had a big performance against Toulon. And also, I think we felt that Farrell would pick a captain who's probably going to make the next World Cup, but he's gone for the tried and tested. And O'Mahony is the best captain in that squad. And maybe it's a little bit of a play to secure his future, because over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of talk about him being uncontracted in June and coming off a central contract for Ireland. So this is going to be really interesting how the IRFU manage this situation now.
Yeah, leadership is key. I mean, that Irish back row is a really competitive one. I guess this guarantees him the starting spot if he's captain.
Yeah, and you know what? That was one of the reasons maybe he wasn't being talked about as well. As I said, he's been injured. There's a young lock who's become a sixth this season, Thomas Ahern from Munster, who's been playing the sixth jersey. He's been outstanding. Ryan Baird has been really, really good for Leinster, and he's one of those hybrid lock sixes as well. But now, man, he's after getting the captaincy. You'd imagine he's obviously the front runner, and he's going to hold down that position. He's been a great performer for Ireland, and I suppose when you lose someone like Sexton, Conor Murray's no longer first choice. Cian Healy is towards the end of his career. Farrell, I think, wants to have a captain who's in the back row, scrum half or out half. He likes to have it in the center of the team. And O'Mahony is it's a great honor for him, and I think you'll see him get the best out of this team.
Now, speaking of Sexton, his retirement leaves this gaping hole in the Irish ranks. I mean, how long have I been watching Irish rugby? Just recent years, we've had Carberry, we've had Cardi, we've had Billy Byrne. The two Byrne boys. Goodness me, like, how do they? Is it just Jack Crowley? Is he the front runner?
Yeah, Jack Crowley's definitely a front runner. I'd say by a long way. I mean, the heirs to the throne haven't managed to get consistent game time. You mentioned the Jack Cartys, the Billy Burns, but etc. But they seem to be forgotten about by Farrell. And playing in two provinces really who just aren't hitting the same heights as Leinster and Munster. So the successor was bound to come from probably one of those. And Crowley, with Carberry being injured at the start of the season, he'd gone to the World Cup, probably lacking maybe 10 or 12 games more, not just at international level, but at Munster level. He's quite young before that World Cup, but timed his run well, got into the World Cup squad, and he's a talented player. But since he's come back to Munster, he's just owned it. He just looks like a player who's got a lot more experience than he actually has, very well-rounded skill set, the right temperament, and he's clearly number one. Behind him, Ross Byrne is injured, so he hasn't had a chance to stake a claim. The young 10 that everybody's talking about, a fellow called Sam Prendergast, has been added as a kind of a development player. And Harry Byrne has had ups and downs injury. I think the sub out half is going to be a fellow called Kieran Frawley, who's quite versatile. So he can play centre, 10 or fullback. And I think because of that, he'll end up on the bench. But Crowley has a chance this Six Nations to show that he's the man long-term to replace Sexton.
Well, he certainly looked the part in Munster's kind of run to that URC title. So I guess the challenge is upon him to see if he can do it again at test level. Now, the squad itself, it's pretty, I don't want to say conservative, but he's not really taken any guy from left field. Like if you look at all the other squads, there's at least a couple of uncapped guys here. I mean, apart from those three guys on the kind of training panel, Jaeger, Ahern, and Prendergast, is it pretty steady she goes? Is it too conservative, or is it kind of steady as the right way forward?
I suppose over the last couple of weeks, I was looking at who Farrell could bring in to shake things up. But I'll be honest, there hasn't been any bolters. Like no one has really, you know the way sometimes you come back from a World Cup and the internationals are maybe a little bit tired or a little bit disappointed and it affects their form, and you get 3 or 4 players who just, put their hand up and say, scream, you can't not pick me. To be honest, only really Thomas Ahern as the bolter has done that. So I would say it is a conservative squad, but I can see it from Farrell's point of view. We went into the World Cup in a really good place, ranked number 1 in the world, equal record number of wins back to back, and we lost to a good New Zealand team in a quarter final. And obviously, there's disappointment about that. But his job is to try and get Ireland back to number 1 in the world, or try and retain our Six Nations trophy. And if no one from outside this core group is shown that they're better, well, then he's right to keep them, because this team haven't failed as such. They failed in one of their goals, but they've been incredibly successful for Farrell and for Irish rugby. So, yeah, that it is the most probably conservative team of the squads we've seen so far, but probably justifiably so, because, as I said, they have performed and others haven't come in and shown they're better yet. But I would imagine the summer tour, to be honest, summer tour South Africa may be a chance to try and find some new talent.
Is Gavin Coombs a bit hard done by, or does that just speak to the depth of the Irish back row?
No, Gavin Coombs is a quality player, but I think if you look at the line or the area that we're the strongest, it's our back row. Like Cian Prendergast has been playing really well for Connacht. He was involved all the way up till the final World Cup squad was picked, and he's been left out. Now, someone like Jack Conan hasn't played a amount, but we know he suits the way Farrell plays. Coombs has been playing a little bit at lock, and that might be an area for him long term. I wonder, has he the all-round athleticism of some of the other players, particularly someone like Caelan Doris. I mean, Coombs was outstanding against Toulon the weekend for Munster in the win, and 3 hours later, Doris gets man of the match. He just the level is very, very high.
Yep. You got guys in that squad, especially in their back row, like you mentioned, even Ahern, who's not capped as yet, is just a freak, like in the best kind of sense of the word. Expectations wise, is it anything but a Six Nations title as a failure? It seems to be largely being talked about. It's going to be decided in this first game against France away.
Yeah, look, I fear first against France away. Marseille, the quality they have, people say, oh, they lose Dupont, but they've got 7 or 8 nines who can start for the other countries. They don't have 7 or 8 nines the same as Antoine Dupont, but they have serious depth in that position, and others. It looks like they're going to be able to put out a team from squads that are on form in Europe. Toulouse hammered Ulster the weekend. Bordeaux are absolutely flying. And there's a lot of quality there. France at home on the back of disappointment of not winning the home World Cup. I think that's going to be very difficult for us. If we get over them, I think we'll win it, maybe win the Grand Slam. But I think this is France's competition to lose, and we'll be thereabouts with England in the shake-up if they slip up.
Well, Bernard, very much looking forward to it. We don't have too long to go now. We know all the squads, and we're just waiting for that first kickoff. Cheers, mate, for talking to us.
Thanks, talk to you soon.
So cheers to Bernard for coming along, man. It really means a lot. He made some time in his evening to have a wee chat. Irish squad. Some of the things we didn't really get to touch on. The hookers are pretty steady as she goes. Kelleher, Sheehan and Stewart. There's obviously no Herring with injury, which is unfortunate, but good to see Tom Stewart get a crack. He's the youngest of the three, but none of these guys are old. They're all 25 and under. The propping stocks are pretty similar. It's good to see Cian Healy get another crack in Irish green before he decides to hang up the boots. He is 36 and the oldest member of the squad, but remember him getting injured before the World Cup just didn't quite feel right. Locking stocks are likely pretty similar. I would have thought James Ryan was in the race for the captaincy, but I know there was a bit of co-captaincy issues going on at Leinster, and there was certainly one game I watched where the referee stopped talking to James Ryan, so maybe that didn't do him any favours. I'm not sure. It was him and Ringrose that were captaining the side that day. They have gone with the more experienced Peter O'Mahony, like Bernard said earlier. The fact that O'Mahony's captain, you surely think it's O'Mahony 6, Van der Fleer 7, Doris 8, with Timoney or Conan to fill on that bench role. We'll kind of have to wait and see. Traditionally, it's been Conan. The halfbacks are the same with Casey, Gibson, Park and Murray. Murray at 34 is the oldest member of the backline now, with Sexton having retired. He's just older than Aki, who's 33 in the midfield. 10, like Bernard mentioned, is certainly a question, but as he said, Jack Crowley's been bossing it, so hopefully he can replicate that kind of form at test level. The midfield is very steady. There's no James Hume, but remember, he's going to just come back from injury, so maybe that is also one that makes kind of sense. And then Lama's returned to the squad. Stockdale, it's good to see these guys get another crack. Neither of these guys went to the World Cup, so yeah, a chance for them to kind of extend their record. And with Mac Hansen being injured, Andy Farrell's not really one to tinker a lot. There is that opportunity for either Nash or Lama or Stockdale to really get some game time in Mac Hansen's absence. So yeah, Jimmy O'Brien also is another one who is out injured, unfortunately. So yeah, fixtures list: France away is definitely looking like a very, very tasty fixture, but as Bernard said, tough. Then Italy at home, you feel like that's the one where the tinkering is done in terms of rotation. Then back with Wales at home, England away, Scotland at home. I feel like those final three games, probably the strongest outfit plays. We'll see how the squad goes with injury. Hopefully guys largely remain fit. If a halfback were to go down, I wouldn't mind seeing Nathan Doak get a call up, but you guys certainly do have a lot of good number 9s in Ireland at the moment. But yeah, cheers again to eToro for sponsoring the episode. Cheers again to Bernard for his thoughts on the Irish squad. You guys let us know yours, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.